Here we have a Gigabyte 3090 video card that came in for repair. We already disassembled the board right here, and let's read what the customer wrote without wasting any time. No power and no image on screen. I've watched your videos and I assume it's a common MOSFET issue. I'd like to see if you guys can fix it. The customer is correct. A lot of the 3090 Gigabyte cards that we work on, they turn out to have MOSFET issues or short circuit. We're gonna start measuring at the coils that we see here, the 12 volt coils, or we can measure at the current sense resistors. Meter in diode mode. We do not have a short. And we're gonna measure here. And look at this. Gigabyte 3090s are notorious for having short circuit on the 12 volt line. So we have a short circuit right here. And I do not know if there's anything else wrong with the card, but before we do anything, we need to fix the 12 volt line. We can also measure the fuse here. And the fuse is blown. We should get a beep like this, but the fuse is blown. And the one on the bottom here should be good because this one is not short into ground. And if we move down here, we do not have a short on the 12 volts down at the slot, and we do not have a short on the 3.3 volt line. Any cracks on the board? No. Just quick visual inspection. Make sure we do not have any missing components, any ripped components, any blown components, especially on the DR MOS side. And this card is using two types of DR MOSFETs, AL00 and the BLN0. Right here. See, BLN0 and AL00. I've worked on those cards more than any video card in the market. Just quick visual inspection before we inject voltage and monitor the board under a thermal camera and see what gets hot on the board. Sometimes it's very difficult to see which DR MOS is getting hot. Right now, a short circuit on the 12 volt line is likely a DR MOS issue, almost always. But sometimes it's very difficult to see which DR MOS is heating up under the thermal camera or which one is causing the problem. But we're gonna figure it out like we always do. I always say the same thing and we end up finding the problem. You have to have good eyes and you need to know your thermal camera by heart. Sometimes the thermal camera may show you a tiny bit of heat, but if you do not know your thermal camera, you're not gonna be able to see it. We're gonna be using our NF.short voltage injection tool. If you have not already bought one, you can log into NorthridgeFix.com, search for NF.short, NF stands for NorthridgeFix, and you can buy one. We only have a few left in stock and we have a big shipment coming in by maybe a week or two. But for now, I think we have about 30 pieces left. If you need one, you can log in, NorthridgeFix.com, click on shop, and you can buy all your tools from there. Hot air station, soldering station, power supply, voltage injection tool, charging stations, tweezers, braid wick, Amtech Flux. We are a distributor of the Flux. You can buy and retail or wholesale. Whatever tools we use on our bench here are sold on our site. Just log in, add to cart, check out, pay, and we almost always ship out same day. Right now I'm gonna connect the ground probe to any one of the screw holes, or I can connect it right here. And now we can inject voltage at the coil, and we're gonna start with 1 volt. If we do not see any heat at 1 volt, then we can go up, bump it up to 1.1, 1.2 as needed. Do not go 2 volts, do not go 3 volts, do not go 19 volts. Right now, we need to touch the probe or inject voltage at the shorted coil or the current sense resistor. And we're gonna monitor the board under a thermal camera and see what gets hot. When we inject voltage, we're gonna monitor this column, the column of DR MOSFETs. And we also have another column on the left side right here. So let's start by injecting voltage. 1, 2, and 3. I injected voltage, and we are looking at this column right here. Okay, top to bottom. Top to bottom, bottom to top. I think I got it. I told you, you need to have good eyes. You need to know what you're looking for. Look at this area right here. All right? And I'm going to inject voltage. You see it? Just a tiny, a slight heat spot right here. Let's switch over to our microscope. And that's the chip that is getting hot. Very, very minimal heat. If you're not used to working with your thermal camera, you're not going to be able to see that heat spot, but because I work on it every day, I can tell when there's a heat spot. I put an X on that DR mask. We're going to go ahead and desolder it and see if that will release our short. I did not even bother to check the left side column of DR MOSFETs, but let's take care of this one. And why is it that it's always the AL00 and not the BLN0 DR MOSFET? I just covered the caps because those caps will blow and pop if you expose them to heat. The board is very thick. It's going to absorb a lot of heat. So desoldering a component of this board is not really considered an easy job, even if it's a simple resistor or capacitor. It will take a lot of heat. We got it. And I just burned 2 fingers, but that's okay. That's why we have 10. 2 gone, 8 more to go. They'll get better after a couple of days and I'll have my 10 fingers again. But for now we're gonna be working with 8 fingers. Remove the heatsink. And let's go back here. We're gonna check for a short again. 1, 2, and the short is gone. What did I tell you? The short is gone. And if we measure here, the short is gone. The short is gone. But we also need to replace this fuse because if we measure here, we're gonna hear a beep. If we measure here, we're not gonna hear a beep. The fuse is blown. Let's rotate the board. And we're gonna apply flux, pre-apply solder onto the pads, and then we can reflow the chip down in place. And now it's time to use the anti-glare light. You see how reflections are getting in the way? Right there. Now we can see everything nice and clear. The power of the anti-glare light. If you do not already have one, you are in the same type of field, or you do this for a hobby. You cannot work on what you cannot see. That's where the anti-glare light comes in. I turn off the ring light, I turn on the anti-glare light, which is a side light from the left and right. And that way we get rid of reflections. Just a minute. How are you doing?
Good, how about you?
I'm doing good.
My husband sent me with another project for you.
Let's see, which one is this?
I don't even know what it is. It has water damage, she said.
So this looks like a laptop motherboard. Oh, liquid damage.
Yeah.
Look at the water damage here.
Yeah.
I do not know if this one is going to be fixable. I'll tell you what the price is.
Okay.
We're going to be charging you one of the two prices. A price if this one is fixable,
Okay.
or a price if we attempt the repair, but it turns out to be a no fix because we're going to spend the time to work on it. But
You
it,
moved.
yeah, we've been here for the past 4 months maybe.
Yeah.
We moved to a bigger place.
I know you were packed in
Bigger,
there.
yeah. We could not move there.
He said it would have been better if I brought the whole machine so he could test it. I'm having you on speakerphone.
Someone just brought in a framework laptop motherboard, and I would say about 1/3 of the motherboard is liquid damaged, heavy liquid damage. I never worked on those motherboards before. And like I do with every customer, I give them two prices. A price if we can fix the board, or a price for the bench fee, repair attempt fee if we are not able to fix the board. And we have another customer. Just a minute. Which one?
Series S.
Now we're gonna add Flux. Original, genuine Amtech Flux. And the chip made a connection. All right, so the chip is perfectly aligned. Look at the placeholders on this one, and look at the placeholders on this one. Nice. We got it. All we have to do is clean up. And we're done. Let's wait for the board to cool down. In the meantime, we can replace the fuse that we have here, the blown one, right there. And that's a 20 amp fuse, noted by the letter Z. And we do have those 20 amp fuses in stock, because we work on those cards almost every day. And let's measure it now. Beautiful. 0.39 voltage drop. It will probably go up to around 0.4, 0.41, but the board is still hot, and temperature does affect the reading. Measure here, and measure here, the same. Awesome. Beautiful. And if we measure this fuse one more time, the second one, for the line that was not shorting, and we measure this right here, measure to ground, we do not have a short, measure to ground, and measure to ground, we do not have a short, and of course we're not going to have any shorts here. We are done. We are 100% done. I mean, I fix a video card, replace the DR MOS, replace the fuse, and a simple connector I cannot plug in. Got it. Right, and now we're gonna plug in the power cables for the first one and the second one. Right there. Since you cannot see the monitor I'm gonna be working on, I'm gonna have to tilt the camera a bit like this. We're gonna be working on the top one here. Maybe we can get that one down like this. And we should be able to tell if we're gonna get an image here. Plug the HDMI cable. Multiple step process. You have to connect everything. And now turn on the power supply. If nothing explodes, that's good news. We're gonna keep looking at the monitor on top. And yes, initial test, the card is working. Awesome. Awesome. Now Big Boss will do rest of the testing after he reassembles. And we are done. We got another card just like the one that we just worked on. Exactly the same one. And for this one, I see something going on here. But we're gonna measure to see if it's a short circuit. Because like I said, Gigabyte 3090s are notorious for having short circuit. I'm not gonna fix this one on camera. I do not want to have to edit 2 repairs in one video. Let's see if we have the same problem as the one that we just fixed. If we go here, look at the way the fuse is looking. Measure 0.6. Okay, so the fact that we are reading 0.6 on one end and a short circuit on the other end, it tells me the fuse is blown and we have a short circuit. So that's a 2-in-1 measurement. Measure from here to here. We have 0.6 voltage drop. We should be reading like this, but we're not. Fuse is bad. And if we measure at the coil, we do not have a short circuit here. The fuse, this fuse is for this coil, and this fuse is for that coil. So we have a short circuit in exactly the same spot as the one that we just fixed. I wonder if we're gonna have a problem with exactly the same DR MOS on this one. Maybe I'll try it just for the sake of this video. But I did notice something going on here. Look at this. Maybe liquid was spilled on the top here. Is that possible? I never had to measure this cap before. But yeah, we are reading low resistance. Let me go to ohms mode. And that's not a short circuit. We have 38 ohms. So most likely we will have to clean up this cap. And then we're gonna have to figure out which DR MOS is bad on this one. Just for the sake of this video, let me inject voltage and see which DR MOS is getting hot. Would it be the same one as the card that we just worked on? Would be interesting to know. And if I want to know, I want you to know. Okay, got it. Got it. You see it? Look right here. Look right here. Right there. Check one more time. Just want to know if it's the same DR MOS in the same location. Right there, you see it? Right there. I put a mark over it. Exactly the same DR MOS. Are you kidding me? Because look, the one that we changed was the AL00, and the one right next to it was the BLN0. So all the top ones are AL00, and starting from the last one here, from the last AL00, we have BLN0. So the problem is exactly the same DR MOS on exactly the same card. Wow. That's the first time I know this information, that we have a problem with exactly the same DR MOS, exactly the same location. We're gonna do the same thing to this card like we did with the one that we just worked on. And right there, we're gonna replace this one here, and we should be all good. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think. Leave it down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll do something else in the next video.